One, two, three, four. All my authors are here. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, hello everyone.
And for those who don't know, my name's Karen Dion. I'm the author of two novels of psychological suspense that are set in Michigan's Upper Peninsula wilderness, Marsh King's Daughter and The Wicked Sister. Both were published by G.P. Putnam's Sons and in a total of 28 other languages. The Marsh King's Daughter was a bestseller in Germany and Sweden and Iceland. And it was recently, last fall, released as a major motion picture starring Daisy Ridley and Ben Mendelsohn. So that's my claim to fame. Now we're going to go ahead and introduce our wonderful authors tonight. James R. Benn is the Dilys, Barry, and Sue Federer Historical Mystery Award nominated author of the popular Billy Boyle World War II mystery series. He's also written 4 standalone works and a short story collection. The Billy Boy series has been hailed as meaty, old-fashioned, and thoroughly enjoyable by the Seattle Times. The New York Times called it spirited wartime storytelling, while the Wall Street Journal called the series a fast-paced saga set in a period when the fate of civilization still hangs in the balance. James is going to talk to us tonight about the Phantom Patrol that's going to come out in September. This is Billy Boyle Mystery number 19. So if he whets your appetite tonight and you haven't read any of his mysteries, you've got plenty to keep you busy before September rolls around. And the Phantom Patrol has been called a fascinating and complex tale of stolen art and the heroes who are determined to get it back. Benn's newest Billy Boyle mystery is a masterful blend of history and heart. I love this book. That was my quote. And I got to read an early copy, which is one of the really cool things about being an author in the author's world. So awesome. Glad to have you here tonight, Jim.
Thank you.
Avery Cunningham is a resident of Memphis, Tennessee, and she's a 2016 graduate of DePaul University's Master of Arts Writing and Publishing program. She has over a decade of editorial experience with various literary magazines, small presses, and best-selling authors. When not writing, Avery is adventuring with her Bernese mountain dog, Grizzly, and wading waist-deep in research for her next novel. I love that. This is a nice image. That's a very big dog, right?
Yes, and actually, for casual here, he is right there.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's a big guy. All right.
Always close by.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I like this part of your bio. It says that you aspire to tell the stories of complex characters fighting for their right to exist at the fringes of history. It sounds really compelling, doesn't it? So,
thank you so much.
The Mayor of Maxwell Street, which published January 30th, is Avery's first novel. Congratulations. That's so awesome.
Thank you.
And I pulled a quote about it from the Washington Post. It said, "The narrative in this superlative debut is propulsive and the dialogue burns hot as the fiery and fearless Nellie endures racism and misogyny as she tracks down the mayor." So we will look forward to finding out more about that book in the breakout rooms.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah. We also have Robin Oliveira. She's the New York Times bestselling author of My Name is Mary Sutter, I Always Loved You, Winter Sisters, and her most recent, A Wild and Heavenly Place. She holds a BA in Russian and studied at the Pushkin Language Institute in Moscow. She received an MFA in writing from Vermont College of Fine Arts and is a former registered nurse specializing in critical care. And she's dialing in from near Seattle, Washington tonight.
Hello.
Hi. A Wild and Heavenly Place, just published in February 13. And here's a quote from Kirkus Reviews. I picked this one in particular because for those who know the writing world, you know that Kirkus Reviews can be very difficult. This is what they said. Oliveira writes with such conviction and sensory detail that one cannot help but be transported into the world of these characters, the roughness of the place and its wild beauty. This novel is as easy to slip into as a favorite sweater. That's awesome. I really like that quote.
Thank you, Karen.
Yeah. And our author number 4 tonight, Heather Webb, with a name like Webb, you're always last in the list, right? I was a walker before I married, so I know how it goes. The name starts with W. Heather Webb is the award-winning USA Today and internationally best-selling author of 10 historical novels. Her work has been translated into 18 languages worldwide. Heather's new solo novel, Queens of London, which just came out February 6th. It's about an all-female gang in 1925 London, led by the notorious Diamond Annie and the 40 Elephants. Doesn't that sound amazing? Just that little bit. Booklist says, with engaging characters and strong women protagonists, Webb's page-turning historical work speaks to the challenges that women faced in the 1920s and the fortitude they needed in order to succeed in society led by men. Sounds very timely, even though it's historical. So that's just a little taste of these amazing, talented authors who are here tonight. Now we're going to play a little game of not quite 20 questions. And we like to do this because it gives you a chance to get to know the authors as people and not just like people who wrote books, right? And we actually have official backroom cards. Can you see these? With
That's amazing.
and everything. So, you know, here we go, right? And I'm going to ask the questions on the order that I see you authors on the screen, which means Avery, you're up first. What was your favorite book as a child? We don't care if the dog barks.
Okay, thank you. Well, I have to say, I believe not so much my favorite, but the book that stands out for me, the book that I think made me, it's called Amy's Eyes. I can't think of the original author. It was published in the 80s, I think, and I first found it on the shelves of my school library. And it's this really thick middle grade book about a girl who wishes that her little sailor dog was real, and he does eventually become real, and they go on this really wonderful adventure with a series of fantastical fairy tale creatures to find a hidden treasure. And it's absolutely insane. It is maddening, but for me, it was a true kind of revelation on the scope of storytelling. It was the first time I read a story like that. So that has to be my favorite.
That's really awesome. I haven't heard of that, but I can see why it would capture your imagination as kids. Sounds
yes,
amazing.
Richard Kennedy. There you go. There it is, right there.
All right. And Heather gets this question, which maybe Avery should have gotten. Are you a dog or a cat person?
Oh, it's funny because I posted on Facebook once that I was a dog person, but my son, who was 12 at the time, made a 20-slide PowerPoint presentation as to why we should have a cat. And so, you know, a lot of effort there from a 12-year-old boy. And I thought, oh, okay, maybe that's something. And now we have 2 cats. And I love them. I didn't think I was a cat person. So I think I like animals.
Yeah.
So.
That's a very, very fair answer. I was thinking when I asked this, it's kind of potentially polarizing, right? You could lose half the audience if you just, you know, one or the other. So very, very diplomatic. Robin, when you were a child, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I actually never thought about it. I never thought about it. All I did when I was a child was read. That's all I did. I read, maybe I ran around the neighborhood with my friends. It never occurred to me until probably the last 3 months of college that I probably better figure something out. That's what happened, which is why I ended up going back to college to become a nurse so that I could eat, which turned out to be an absolute calling for me. And I didn't start writing until later in life.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, yeah. Sounds like you were just present in the moment, right? Enjoying what
That's what we'll call it. It was the 70s, and we're just going to say anything was going. And yeah, that's what we'll call it.
Okay, very good. Jim, this is kind of a fun one. Would you rather drive or be the passenger in a car?
Well, I have to tell you, I don't have much choice because my wife and I only have one car and we both want to drive all the time. So we've evolved a system. On even days, I get to drive, and on odd days, she gets to drive. And we remember that by the fact that she's a little odd and I'm pretty even keeled. So,
wow. I think that's evidence of a long and happy marriage right there. Now, before we go into the breakout rooms, all of these authors have brought a book recommendation for us tonight, because of course, Hank and I, our goal is to make sure that you don't run out of things to read, so besides, checking out these authors' books, here we're going to find out what they're reading and loving. So Avery, we'll start with you. What book are you recommending?
Yes, and I do not have a physical copy because I've been listening to the audiobook, but I have it here, right here, and also it's on the screen. Thank you so much. It has to be The Blueprint by Ray Gianarishad. She's a fellow 2024 debut author, and her novel is kind of a reimagining of kind of The Handmaid's Tale, but from a Black perspective. And it's absolutely excellent. It's a wonderful piece of literature, and it came out just a few weeks ago, so I highly recommend it to everyone. I really hope and believe that Ray is going to be a brave and fantastic, stellar new voice in literary fiction.
Thank you. And we're all for supporting new authors, so we'll be sure to check it out. Thank you. Heather, what book do you think everyone here tonight should read?
So it's called The Assassin of Venice. And I read this because I have it's an ARC, it's an early copy. It comes out in June. It's about a woman who is hired by the Ten, which is, this council, and set in Italy. She is a courtesan. So she lures men in that are traitors or spies, and she assassinates them. But she ends up falling for, and it's not really a romance, but there is a side story of she ends up falling for a fellow assassin, and then she's commissioned to take him out. So there's a lot of actual political intrigue. There's a lot of great lush, fast-paced scenes that are set in Italy. And Alyssa, this is her first book kind of like this, but she's done some other historical set in Italy, and they're all really, really transporting. So this is a very fun one that's slightly different. It's got more of that suspense thriller vibe.
Sounds amazing. Yeah. I like that word, transporting. That's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Robin, what book are you recommending tonight?
I am recommending The General and Julia by an incredible writer named John Clinch. I spent the entire time, my jaw dropped because the writing in this book is exquisite. I was almost envious of his sentences, his word choice, but all of that aside, the story is incredibly engrossing because this is the true story of General Grant at the end of his life, when he has been involved in a Ponzi scheme. He didn't know it. He lost all his money, and he has to write his memoirs, this very thick memoirs, before he dies, so that of throat cancer, so that his wife and family will not be penniless after he goes.
That's an amazing endorsement. Yeah, it sounds wonderful. And Jim, what novel or book are you recommending tonight?
Well, it's not a novel, and I'm sorry to be the one that is going to bring up something that might sound like homework, but I'm recommending The 7 Basic Plots by Christopher Booker. And this, as you can tell, it's not a slim book, but it is just incredible. His theory is that every novel can be broken down by the plot being one of the 7 basic plots. And he goes through all of literature, everything from the Epic of Gilgamesh to The Simpsons, to analyze how stories fit into these categories and what telling stories means to us as a culture. And it sounds like it might be a little dry, but he's a fascinating reader. It's the kind of book that I would stop and read a passage aloud from to whoever was listening, because it's just such fascinating stuff. So it's something for the serious reader who wants to think more deeply about what they're reading and the structure of stories. And of course, for writers who want to take a look at plot structure and how the journey fits into these 7 basic plots. So it's a book I enjoyed tremendously, and I can't recommend it enough.
Wasn't that fun? We hope you enjoyed this taste of what a backroom event is like. The best part comes immediately after, when the audience is divided into 4 breakout rooms and the authors visit each room in turn. We'd love to show you what a breakout session is like because these relaxed face-to-face conversations between authors and readers are the hallmark of our backroom events. But breakout sessions are never recorded. What's said in the backroom stays in the backroom.